You are at a party and everyone around you is laughing. They are talking about things that happened at work, sharing stories about their weekend, making plans for the future. And you are standing there, nodding, smiling at the right moments, making the sounds that indicate you are engaged. But inside you feel like you are watching from behind glass, like you are observing a species you no longer belong to. They seem so comfortable in their certainties, so unburdened by questions, so able to just exist on the surface without being pulled constantly into the depths. And you wonder what that must feel like, to not analyze every interaction, to not see the patterns beneath the patterns, to not notice the ways everyone is performing, pretending, avoiding the real conversations that need to happen. You wonder when you lost the ability to just be like them. Or maybe you never had it. Maybe you were always the one asking why when everyone else was content with, because maybe you were always the one who could not accept easy answers, who needed to look underneath, who saw too much to ever be comfortable in the shallow end again. And as you stand there surrounded by people but feeling completely alone, you realize something. You cannot do this anymore. You cannot keep pretending that these connections satisfy you. You cannot keep showing up to spaces where nobody talks about anything real. You cannot keep performing normalcy when you stopped feeling normal a long time ago. So you start to withdraw. Slowly at first. You decline a few invitations. You stop reaching out as much. You let friendships fade that were never really feeding you anyway. And people notice. They ask if you are okay. They tell you that you have changed. They say they miss the old you, but they do not understand. The old you was not real. The old you was someone who had not woken up yet. Someone who could still pretend that surface-level existence was enough. But you cannot go back to sleep. Once you see, you see. And what you see makes it almost impossible to connect with people who are still asleep. Here is what nobody tells you about psychological awakening. It is not a gift. It is not enlightenment in the way most people imagine it. It is not some peaceful state where you suddenly understand everything and feel at peace with the world. It is more like having a layer of skin removed. Suddenly you are exposed to things that most people are protected from. You see the unconscious patterns playing out everywhere. You see the defenses, the projections, the ways people lie to themselves and each other without even knowing they are doing it. You see the emptiness behind the performance, the fear behind the confidence, the desperation behind the achievements, and you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to accepting things at face value. You cannot participate in collective illusions anymore. And that makes you incompatible with most of human society, because society is built on those illusions. It requires people to agree not to look too closely at certain things, not to ask certain questions, not to challenge certain narratives. And when you cannot play along anymore, when your awakening has made you incapable of pretending, you become a problem. You become the person who makes others uncomfortable just by being present, because your presence reminds them of what they are avoiding. Your refusal to pretend makes their pretending more obvious. Your questions threaten the structures they are using to feel safe. So they pull away from you, or you pull away from them. And either way, you end up alone. Freud understood this better than almost anyone. He spent his entire career studying the unconscious, pulling back the veil on the hidden forces that drive human behavior. And what he discovered was deeply unsettling. He discovered that most people spend their entire lives asleep. Not literally, but psychologically. They live in their conscious mind, responding to immediate stimuli, following scripts they absorbed without questioning, defending themselves from truths that would be too painful to face. They use defense mechanisms like repression, denial, rationalization, projection. And these defenses keep them comfortable. They keep them functional. They allow them to navigate social reality without being constantly overwhelmed by the darkness underneath. But people like you, people who have awakened psychologically, you cannot use those defenses anymore. Or you tried and they stopped working. Something happened that cracked you open. Maybe it was trauma. Maybe it was loss. Maybe it was just the accumulation of too many moments where reality did not match what you were told it should be. And once the crack appeared, once you started to see what was really happening, the defenses could not hold anymore. You became conscious. And consciousness, Freud would tell you, is a burden. It is awareness without the comfortable buffer that most people enjoy. It is seeing the truth without the ability to look away, and this is why you isolate. Not because you are antisocial, not because you do not want connection, but because real connection requires two people operating at the same level of consciousness. And most people are not where you are. They cannot meet you there. When you try to talk about what you see, what you feel, what you understand about the human condition, they look at you like you are speaking another language. They tell you that you think too much, that you should just relax, that you are being too intense, too negative, too much. They want you to come back down to where they are, to stop asking the questions that make them uncomfortable, to accept the surface explanations and move on. But you cannot. Not because you do not want to, but because you literally cannot. Your mind does not work that way anymore. You have been changed by your awakening, and that change is irreversible. So you stop trying to connect in spaces where consciousness is not valued. You stop showing up to conversations that feel empty. You stop investing energy in relationships that require you to pretend you are less aware than you actually are. And you retreat into solitude, into silence, into the only space where you can be fully yourself, which is alone. If you are recognizing yourself in this, if you have been feeling guilty for your isolation, take a moment and like this video. Not just for the algorithm, but as validation, as acknowledgement that your isolation is not pathology, it is protection. It is the only way to preserve your consciousness in a world that wants you to go back to sleep. Let me pause here for a moment because I need to ask you something that matters. Have you ever felt like you are living two lives at once? The one everyone sees, where you smile and function and pretend everything is fine, and the one inside your head, where you are struggling, confused, doubting every choice you make? That split, that exhausting performance of being okay when you are not, it is something Freud understood deeply. And I want you to know something. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human. And what you are feeling right now, this exact struggle you are carrying, someone else watching this video is feeling it too. They are sitting there thinking they are the only one, just like you might be thinking right now. So I am going to ask you to do something that might feel vulnerable, but it is important. Go down to the comments right now and type this exact phrase, I feel this. Just those 3 words, I feel this. You do not need to explain. You do not need to write your whole story. Just let those words be your voice today, because when you do that, something powerful happens. The person scrolling through these comments, the one who feels completely alone in their pain, they are going to see your comment. And for the first time in maybe days, weeks, or months, they are going to realize they are not alone either. Your 3 words might be the thing that helps them breathe a little easier tonight. This is not just about engagement. This is about connection. This is about breaking the silence that keeps us isolated in our suffering. Freud built his entire life's work on one simple truth. We heal when we speak what has been hidden. So speak it now. Go to the comments, type I feel this, and know that by doing so, you are not just helping yourself. You are helping every single person who needs to know that what they feel is real, is valid, and is shared. Do it now. I will wait. Now let me tell you what Freud understood about the relationship between consciousness and suffering. He understood that the more conscious you become, the more you suffer. Not because consciousness itself is suffering, but because consciousness removes the buffers that protect most people from the full weight of existence. When you are unconscious, when you are living primarily in your defenses, reality is filtered. You only let in what you can handle. You repress what is too painful. You deny what is too threatening. You project onto others what you cannot accept in yourself. And this filtering makes life manageable. It makes suffering tolerable. It allows you to function without being constantly overwhelmed. But when you wake up, when you become psychologically conscious, those filters stop working. Suddenly you are experiencing reality more directly. You feel your own pain without being able to numb it away. You see other people's pain even when they are hiding it. You recognize the existential loneliness that underlies all human experience. You understand that meaning is not given but constructed, that security is an illusion, that everyone is improvising their way through life while pretending they know what they are doing. And you cannot unknow these things. You cannot go back to the comfortable illusions, so you suffer more. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because consciousness and suffering are intimately connected. The more you see, the more you hurt, and this is where isolation becomes necessary. Because being around unconscious people when you are conscious is its own kind of torture. They are not bad people. They are not doing anything wrong. But they are operating in a completely different reality. They are protected by illusions that you can see through. They are comforted by beliefs that you recognize as defenses. They are satisfied by connections that you experience as hollow. And you cannot tell them. You cannot wake them up. Because waking up is not something you can do to someone else. It is something that happens when their defenses fail, when their illusions crack, when reality breaks through in a way they can no longer ignore. And until that happens, they will resist any attempt to show them what they are not ready to see. So being around them becomes exhausting. You have to constantly translate yourself. You have to edit your thoughts, censor your observations, pretend to care about things that feel meaningless to you. You have to perform being less conscious than you are so that they feel comfortable. And that performance is killing you. It is making you feel more alone than actual solitude ever could. Because at least when you are alone, you can be yourself. You can think your real thoughts. You can feel your real feelings. You can exist at the level of depth that is natural to you without having to apologize for it or hide it or pretend. It does not exist. Freud would also tell you something else about why the psychologically awake isolate themselves. It is because consciousness makes you dangerous. Not physically dangerous, but psychologically dangerous. Your presence threatens the structures that other people are using to feel safe. When you ask questions they are avoiding, when you notice patterns they are invested in not seeing, when you refuse to participate in collective denial, you become a threat to their psychological equilibrium. And people protect their equilibrium. They protect it fiercely, so they push you away. They minimize your concerns. They pathologize your awareness. They tell you that you are being paranoid, negative, difficult, too sensitive. They make you the problem so they do not have to look at the problems you are pointing toward. And this is not malicious. This is not them trying to hurt you. This is them trying to protect themselves. Because looking at what you see would require them to question everything, to dismantle the beliefs they have built their life on, to face fears they have spent years avoiding. And most people are not willing to do that. Most people would rather maintain their comfortable illusions than face uncomfortable truths. So they choose their comfort over your truth, and you end up isolated. Not because you chose to be difficult, but because you became incapable of participating in shared delusions. But here's where it gets complicated. Because isolation itself can become a defense. Freud would want you to ask yourself honestly, are you isolating because you are too conscious for most connections? Or are you isolating because connection feels too risky? Are you alone because people cannot meet you at your depth? Or are you alone because depth is safer than vulnerability? Because there is a version of psychological awakening that is genuine, that comes from having seen too much to ever participate comfortably in surface reality again. But there is also a version that is defensive, that uses consciousness as a way to avoid the messiness of real human connection, that convinces you that you are too evolved for normal relationships, when really you are too scared, that tells you that everyone else is asleep when really you are avoiding people who might actually see you. And the difference matters, because one version of isolation is necessary and protective. It is you honoring your own consciousness, refusing to betray yourself by pretending to be less aware than you are. But the other version is a prison. It is you using your awareness to keep yourself safe from rejection, from disappointment, from the vulnerability that real connection requires. And Freud would tell you that you need to know which one you are doing. Because if it is the second one, if your isolation is defensive, then you are not protecting your consciousness. You are limiting your growth. You are using awareness as a way to stay stuck rather than as a tool for deeper understanding. You already know this, but we're not ready to understand ourselves alone. The human mind is vast, complex, and often frightening to explore without guidance. If this content is helping you see yourself more clearly, if these insights about Freud's work are bringing light to parts of yourself you've kept hidden, then consider subscribing to this channel. This is not just another psychology channel. This is a space where we explore the depths of human nature together, where we take the most profound concepts from psychoanalysis and make them accessible, practical, and deeply personal. Every video here is designed to help you understand not just theory, but yourself, your patterns, your fears, your desires, the invisible forces that have been shaping your choices without your awareness. When you subscribe, you are making a commitment to yourself. You are saying that you are ready to look deeper, to understand more, to stop running from the truth of who you are. And I promise you this, I will be here every week, bringing you insights that matter, explanations that actually make sense, and perspectives that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the world around you. This journey of self-understanding is not easy. Freud knew this. He spent his entire life mapping the human psyche precisely because he understood how lost we can feel inside our own minds. But you do not have to walk this path alone. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Become part of a community of people who have decided that understanding themselves is worth the discomfort, worth the effort, worth the time. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And that relationship deserves your attention, your curiosity, and your courage. So subscribe now and let's continue this exploration together. Your future self will thank you for taking this step today. So what do you do? How do you live as a psychologically conscious person in a world that is mostly asleep? Freud would tell you that you need to find the others. The other people who are awake, the ones who see what you see, the ones who ask the same questions, the ones who cannot go back to sleep no matter how much easier it would be. Those people exist. They are rare, but they exist. And when you find them, when you connect with someone who operates at your level of awareness, something shifts. You realize that you are not crazy. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are just conscious in a way that most people are not. And there are others like you. Others who understand the weight of awareness. Others who know what it costs to see clearly. Others who have chosen truth over comfort, consciousness over illusion, depth over ease. And connecting with those people, that is not the same as the connections you have been avoiding. Those connections do not require you to perform. They do not ask you to be less than you are. They do not make you translate yourself into a more palatable version. They meet you where you are. They match your depth. They engage with the questions that actually matter. And that is worth the isolation. That is worth the loneliness of waiting to find your people. Because one real connection is worth more than 100 false ones. Freud would also tell you that your isolation should be generative, not just protective. Meaning, if you are going to be alone, use that solitude for something. Use it to think, to create, to process, to integrate. Use it to develop ideas that matter, to explore questions that fascinate you, to build something that reflects the depth of your consciousness. Because if your isolation is just avoidance, if you are alone but not doing anything with that aloneness, then you are wasting the gift of your awareness. You are letting consciousness become a burden without allowing it to become a tool. But if you use your solitude intentionally, if you let it be the space where you do your deepest work, where you explore your most important questions, where you create something that could not exist if you were busy performing for others, then your isolation becomes meaningful. It becomes the necessary condition for your contribution. It becomes the price you pay for depth, for originality, for the kind of understanding that only comes when you are willing to spend time in the uncomfortable territory that most people avoid. Here is what I want you to understand as we close. Your isolation is not a failure. Your inability to connect superficially is not a flaw. Your psychological awakening, as painful as it is, as lonely as it makes you, is not something to apologize for. You cannot go back to sleep. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot pretend to be satisfied by connections that do not feed your soul. And you should not try. What you should do is honor your consciousness. Protect it, use it. Find the rare others who share it. Build a life that reflects it. Stop trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for people like you. Stop feeling guilty for seeing what others miss. Stop apologizing for being unable to participate in comfortable illusions. You are awake. That is not a curse. That is a responsibility. A responsibility to live according to what you see, to speak what you understand, to create from the depth you have access to. And yes, that will be lonely sometimes. Yes, you will spend more time alone than you would if you could just be like everyone else. But you are not like everyone else. And pretending you are will destroy you faster than loneliness ever could. So let me ask you this as we close. What would it look like to stop fighting your isolation and start using it? What would it look like to accept that you are psychologically awake, and that means you will never fit comfortably in spaces designed for people who are asleep? What would it look like to stop waiting for permission to be as conscious as you are and just own it? To build your life around it? To find the others who share it and let everyone else go? Because that is the choice. You can keep trying to force yourself into connections that do not work. Keep pretending to be less aware than you are. Keep hoping that somehow you will wake up one day and be able to participate in surface reality again. Or you can accept who you are. Accept what you see. Accept that your path is going to be lonelier, but also deeper, harder, but also more real, more isolated, but also more true. Share this video with someone who is psychologically awake and struggling with isolation. Someone who needs to hear that their loneliness is not pathology. Someone who needs permission to stop apologizing for their consciousness. And tell them you are not alone in being alone. There are others like you, and we see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying awake even when sleep would be easier. Thank you for refusing to betray your consciousness to make others comfortable. The world needs people like you. People who cannot be lulled back to sleep. People who keep seeing. People who keep asking. People who keep refusing to accept easy answers. Stay awake. Stay isolated if you need to. But stay true. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing you can do.